Welcome to my class, and in this we are continuing on with Unit 7. And at the outset itself, let me just tell you that the determination of prices are always done with market demand and market supply wherever they interact. Classical view had this, that it's the suppliers that it's the price is determined because from the supply side. Later on there were others who said it from the demand side. Then Marshall came up and said no. He likened it to a pair of scissors and said we cannot just determine the upper blade or the lower blade that's cutting the cloth. So in the same manner, we can't decide is it how important is supply or demand. Both are equally important. And so just have a look. This is how it goes. So then so again, let me just tell you that the determination of price is done by the entire industry. Under perfect competition, price is the result of demand and supply of all buyers and sellers together. No individual firm can determine or influence price. Every firm and every buyer accepts the prices given as constant. Now to repeat, price determination or formation under perfect competition is done by the industry, while the price so determined is accepted by the individual firm. So we had discussed this before, in which we showed that graphically how this is what we showed, that's a market demand and market supply, and that is how for a firm the price is given. So that is how. So so the determination of price depends upon demand and supply. Okay, so that is the market demand and market supply. Basically, that's what we were talking about. And then we also will talk about what is, like for example, what is equilibrium? Market equilibrium is what? Where market demand is equal to market supply. So what is market equilibrium? It occurs when demand for a given commodity, say X commodity, is equal to supply of X commodity. So that is known as market equilibrium, and this market equilibrium leads to two more equilibriums. One is, now look at this, one is what is known as equilibrium price, that is the price which clears the market, that is demand for X is equal to supply of X. And equilibrium quantity is the quantity that leaves no excess demand or excess supply in the market, because supply of X is equal to demand for X. So in fact, equilibrium price implies the situation of equilibrium quantity, and equilibrium quantity implies the situation of equilibrium price. So once again, as I had introduced and told you which is more important, a word on that, just a little word on that. I just want you to know that it was a classical economist that they had two approaches regarding price determination under perfect competition. Now the first approach was that the price of a commodity is determined by the cost of production, that is by supply. So others, whereas there was another school of classical thought that said that price of a product is mainly determined by its marginal utility, that is its demand. So they felt that it was a consumer who will demand the commodity, only will demand a commodity which provides utility to him. So according to this approach, the price is determined by the demand side. And this dispute went on for some time, and Marshall came up, Alfred Marshall, and he said that both demand and supply determine price. Price is determined by the interaction of both market forces of demand and supply. And he gave us a good example, an interesting example. He said, just as we cannot say whether it is the upper blade or the lower blade of a pair of scissors that cuts a piece of cloth when the two blades operate together, similarly, we cannot say whether it's the demand alone or supply alone that determines the value or the market price. So he in the same manner, he said. So cutting is done by two blades. So also the equilibrium price is determined by both demand and supply. So in the next class, we are going to talk a little more in detail about how is price determined with the help of a table we'll do.